why you should consider it. And then we have 5 different program partners here from AmeriCorps programs throughout Maryland who can share about their specific program, why you could consider it as your service opportunity. And then finally, we'll have lots of time for Q&A where you can ask any specific questions that you might have. So again, this is me. My name is Callie Moore, and I'm one of the program coordinators at the Do Good Institute here at the University of Maryland. So I work with likely a lot of students here on the call with their Do Good projects, ideas, and in Do Good classes. But before I joined the Do Good Institute, I actually did AmeriCorps myself. So I did AmeriCorps service here in DC with a nonprofit program called the Horton's Kids. I was doing after school tutoring and weekend enrichment with kindergarten through 6th graders. And I spent the whole year working with them, helping them with their reading and their writing and their math, but also just doing so many other things, mentoring and building great community and just learning so much. So AmeriCorps did so much for me in terms of different career skills that I was able to gain in terms of resourcefulness and budgeting and program development. And after that, I was able to work full-time for different nonprofits that ran AmeriCorps programs. So I'm a big believer in AmeriCorps, what it can do for those who serve, as well as what it does for our communities, and why I'm so excited to have been able to present here with you today, our AmeriCorps partners. So with that, I'm going to kick it off to Nikki, and she can introduce herself and then share all about what AmeriCorps is, especially in Maryland, and why you should consider it.
Thanks, Callie. This is really exciting. We've been talking about doing something like this for a little over a year and partnering with the Do Good Institute and starting with the conversation surrounding civic engagement and AmeriCorps. As you can see on the screen, I'm also an AmeriCorps alum. I served with Volunteer Maryland back in 2012. And from that point, it really did launch my career path. From the time serving with AmeriCorps, I was hired by the Anne Arundel County in the Recreation and Parks to serve as volunteer coordinator and outreach manager for the entire department. And then from there, I went into the governor's state house and then right back into Volunteer Maryland as their program manager and became the director in 2017. My service year with AmeriCorps was in 2012. And now in 2020, I'm the director of the Governor's Office on Service and Volunteerism. So as a launching pad, AmeriCorps can definitely propel you to areas that you might not even have expected to be in. So with that, I want to share a little bit more information about what is AmeriCorps and what is the Governor's Office on Service and Volunteerism. Right now, I think there's a lot of attention on what state and federal agencies are doing. So this is great to give you a quick background of how the Governor's Office on Service and Volunteerism came about. And it actually started in 1989 when the Points of Light Foundation was founded by President Bush. And he created the Office of National Service in the White House and funded the Points of Light to foster volunteerism. And in 1990, President Bush signed into legislation authorizing grants to schools to support service learning. And then in 1992, the National Civilian Corps, or what we like to call it NCCC, which is direct service members. There's 4 regional campuses across the state. They were funded. And then if you can look at the timeline here that I'm showing you, in 1993, the Corporation for National Community Service was funded by the federal government. And that's when there was an executive order and the Governor's Office on Service and Volunteerism was created to funnel that money from the federal government to the state organizations here in Maryland, which we're going to hear from 5 of the programs. So that's a really quick historical overview of how the Governor's Office on Service and Volunteerism got here. So it was way back in the early 1990s. And really, we are the Service Commission for the state of Maryland. And in a minute, I'll show you a map where there's 50 different commissions throughout the state. And what our office does is monitor AmeriCorps programs throughout the state as well as fostering and honoring and recognizing volunteers throughout the state. So not only do we promote AmeriCorps service years, we also promote volunteerism and civic engagement in general. So real quick overview, I mentioned a couple of these words, the Corporation for National Community Service. That's the federal agency that funds AmeriCorps Vista, Senior Corps, AmeriCorps and CCC, which is what I spoke about, and AmeriCorps at large. Those fundings come through the Maryland Governor's Office on Service and Volunteerism. And underneath our office, we have about 20 AmeriCorps programs statewide. So that's the service arm of our program, and the volunteer arm of our office is recognizing, offering resources and developing and nurturing relationships as it relates to volunteerism. There are other ways of funding AmeriCorps programs, but for purposes of this webinar, I'm not going to go into them. So as I mentioned, there's 52 state commissions throughout the country. So one in every state, and then 2 in territories, Guam and Puerto Rico. And what AmeriCorps focuses on, and each of our programs in our portfolio are different, which you're going to hear from the different programs in a moment. They would have different focus areas like education, environmental stewardship, focusing veterans and families, economic opportunities, and disaster preparedness, which is very interesting in this time that we're responding to the coronavirus outbreak. A large handful of our members have turned their service into disaster relief. So it's really exciting to see our members firsthand solving the problems of today. And real quick, what our office does is we fund AmeriCorps programs, and we also fund members' experiences. It's very important for the Governor's Office on Service and Volunteerism, as well as the programs, is to nurture in and usher in and support a new group of leaders who are going to go forward and make a change, not just in Maryland, but across the globe, really. And this is a quick snapshot of all of our partners. I believe almost everybody's represented on here. I didn't count, so I'm sorry if anybody's missing. Like I mentioned, we have programs throughout the entire state of Maryland who are focusing on different essential needs in their communities. And the final slide just shows what we did in 2019. There's over 700 service locations, and we had over 5,000 Senior Corps and AmeriCorps members serving. You can see the stats right here. As Callie mentioned, with her own AmeriCorps experience, I gained skills and confidence and experience during my service year that really helped me to put my career perspective and path in place. So I'm excited that the attendees are on the line today to learn more about our programs. So I want to turn it over now. Oh, before we get started, thank you, Callie. I want to just, the basics for what you'll gain in AmeriCorps, like I mentioned, skills and confidence and learning about your community's critical community needs that might be education, homelessness, hunger, environmental stewardship. It is going to connect to career opportunities. So although your service year might be only 1 year or during one summer, you're going to build your network, and that will help you build your resources, and you stay connected to your alumni after your service year to find other opportunities beyond your service year. There is a living stipend while you're serving as an AmeriCorps member. It ranges from programs, and it also ranges from the amount of time you spend from full-time to part-time. After a completion of a successful service year or a service period, an individual AmeriCorps member is awarded an education award. And this can go to paying down some student debt if you have that, or you can put it towards some future education like a master's degree or field experience or other organizations that accept the education award, which I think the Do Good Institute is one of them. And also during your service year, you're offered, if needed, healthcare is provided, as well as daycare stipends and support during your service year. So it's a wraparound service year. It's not like you're just getting thrown in and you're going to go work in the community. We really work hard to support our members, and the programs do that as well. We can go into some more detail if you have specific questions about any of those areas. But I really want to save time for all of our programs to be able to present. So the first program that's going to present is Volunteer Maryland, and they are a scatter site across the state. Nathan, if you want to go ahead and take it away.
Hey, thank you so much, Nikki. And Volunteer Maryland has a big love for Nikki because she is a Volunteer Maryland alumni, as she mentioned. But I am Nathan Cabrera, the Outreach Manager at Volunteer Maryland. And we are a statewide AmeriCorps program, and we partner with nonprofits, government agencies, and schools throughout the state, helping to build capacity for volunteer programs. So if you ever wanted to basically lead volunteers, this would be a really good avenue for you. Next slide, please. And unlike a lot of other AmeriCorps programs, we actually cover all of the focus areas within AmeriCorps. So I try to find a really good fit for individuals who have specific interests. So hopefully, no matter where those interests lie, you can help serve underserved populations in these different areas. And as Nikki mentioned, there are a multitude of benefits and reasons as to why you would want to serve. These are some of the general ones. One of the things I do like to focus and hone in on especially is the professional developmental training that you receive with us, because we have 3 decades of volunteer management experience. We actually were a pilot program for AmeriCorps before AmeriCorps was a thing. And with Volunteer Maryland, we are always looking to adapt our trainings for our members based on what is of value in today's world. And even just the changes with the impact of the pandemic and how we've had to pivot over and utilize our resources online to help support our members. And really quickly, I just wanted to share the little crab in the picture is something that came out of our regional coordinators, which is another position that we recruit for. And I'm going to let Sierra talk from here, but Vim is our special buddy who debuted in 2020. So Sierra, take it away.
Thank you, and thank you for introducing Vim. So I'm regional coordinator at Volunteer Maryland, and wait, can you guys hear me properly? Okay, so one day when I was at the zoo, I got the call from Nathan for possibly serving with Volunteer Maryland, and I was glad I picked up the phone because he kept giving me all of these different positions, and they were all so amazing. It's like, hey, do you want to serve supporting veterans by getting volunteers to support service dogs and puppies? Yes, I do. Do you want to help people create programs for the homeless in Howard County? Yes, I do. Do you want to help foster kids in PG County? Yeah, I wanted to do all of it, and it was all just so attractive. And then as we kept talking, he found out that I was a Teach for America alum, and he said, you know, maybe you should, since you have the experience, why don't you consider regional coordinator? And for a person who loves service, for somebody who wants to get their hands in everything, not just one site, this was perfect. And so I have the best job at Volunteer Maryland because I get to contact not just one site, but all of the sites in our cohort. And I get to check in on them to see how they're doing and what they're doing. And based on what I hear, I get to use all that information to create support for them. And that could look like trainings, it could be service opportunities, it could be materials for them. And so you're telling a teacher that she can be as creative as she wants. She gets to spend time with her cohort, helping them bond through service. And it's just been such a dream. And professionally, the best environment for me to learn, grow, and connect in a whole new dynamic that I did not dream was possible at this time last year. And this is actually very relevant to our volunteer coordinators as well. So if you go into PG County, we have our volunteer coordinator, Miriam Ndaye. She is at PG County CASA, which is Court Appointed Special Advocates. And she's my ice cream buddy. She comes to see me, comes to hang out with me after every service project, but she's also just this incredible powerhouse of organization and of planning. And so because Nathan was able to fit her with PG County CASA, their recruitment numbers have gone up since she's been there. And if we even move out of PG County, you can go all the way across the bridge and go up to Kent County. At Sassafras Environmental Educational Center, we have Aaron Turner. And Aaron is truly a environmentalist. He was also pivoting out of education, and he was really looking for his community. He wanted to find those people, those like-minded people who he could talk to about environmental issues and symbiosis, and make the changes happen that we need to see, as well as reaching the same communities that we cared for while we were teachers. And since he's been at SEEK, he's worked on that so much, and he's basically there because he's connected with so many local organizations and leaders, and they all are passionate and they help with the farming and planting. They help with the leading of educational activities, and they are currently even helping with distributing crops to food banks and pantries, which are helping a lot of people right now who are in need. So that's really amazing. And if we're even going to speak of current involvement, you can't get more connected to supporting people during COVID-19 than MEMA, which is the Maryland Emergency Management Agency. And what you don't know is that we currently have a member there. Her name is Chanel. And Chanel, she can handle anything. She is a mama, and she takes everything in stride. She actually didn't even enter this Volunteer Maryland year with a specific passion for volunteer management, but she wanted to grow and she wanted to excel. And so she got placed at MEMA, and she spent so much time learning and studying the works and the needs of her site. And now at this point in the year, she's created a volunteer program from scratch, which is amazing. And she's still connected and helping man all of the community requests that MEMA is getting every single day, and making those connections to support all the people. And so on that note, there is no way that you can leave a year of Volunteer Maryland without making meaningful connections with like-minded active people, because you're going to have your nonprofit circle, which is the people at your site you see every day. You're going to have your VM cohort, which are the people you see once a month in different fields of nonprofit. And you're going to have, since we're an AmeriCorps program, your governmental connections through national service. So if you get a call from Nathan Cabrera, regardless if you are at the zoo or not, you should definitely pick it up.
Thank you, Sierra. That was so fun to listen to. Just a recap of what all the members are doing. And just as a side note, as the director of the Governor's Office in Service and Volunteerism, I was activated to serve with MEMA. So I actually work with Chanel on a daily basis. We are checking in with each other about volunteer coordination. So you just never know what's going to end up happening during your service year. Thank you so much, Volunteer Maryland. Next, we want to introduce Maryland Conservation Corps. So they're going to take you out from behind the desk out into the environment. Take it away, MCC.
Thanks, Nikki. Hi, my name is Tina Stevens. I'm the program manager for the Maryland Conservation Corps. This is a program that is managed by the Maryland Park Service, and that's a unit within Maryland's Department of Natural Resources. I'm joined here by member Nick Morris, so he'll be available at the end of this short presentation. If you guys have any questions. So thank you for joining us, Nick. So that first picture was a picture of all the members statewide. We have 35 members statewide, and staff. We have crew leaders, crew supervisors, rangers, park managers that help manage the program. So this is a full-time AmeriCorps program. So that means it's 40 hours a week. You earn 1,700 hours of service. So we start September 30th, and the members are usually done their hours by August 14th. That's our end date. So but most members are done with their hours by the end of July or early August. You have to be 17 to 25 years of age. You have to be no older than 25 on the start date of the program to join. So we serve in Maryland State Parks. We give you guys a lot of formal training, a lot of hands-on training as well. As Nikki had mentioned earlier, there's a living allowance. You get a biweekly living allowance. For our program, it's right now around minimum wage for Maryland. So not bad when you consider all the training that you get, the hands-on training, formalized training, and the education award at the end, which is just over $6,000, which is fantastic. And you have 7 years to use that money. So we can go on to the next slide. So we have 7 locations around the state. We are located in Maryland State Parks. Each crew has about 5 crew members. We have a crew at Assateague State Park. That's the picture there with the wild ponies. And we have a crew out in Deep Creek Lake State Park in Western Maryland. And in between, so Central Maryland, Southern Maryland, and Eastern Shore. We do have low-cost state park housing available at all locations, although it's first come, first serve. We do give priority to out-of-state members. We do recruit from around the country. We can go to the next slide. Here are just some pictures of some of the work that we do. We do environmental education programs. You see one of our members there holding a little screech owl. So many of our crews learn how to handle injured wildlife and use them in programs. We do different programs with kids in schools, at the park. We do invasive species removal, some prescribed burns. We do some wildland firefighting, trail building projects. We work with chainsaws in the parks and public lands. And that bottom picture there is an emergency medical responder training. So all the members receive that training, as well as many other trainings, which I think is the next. How do we accomplish all these different projects? Well, it's through these trainings that we offer. And most of them are offered through fall. They're kind of spread out. And when you guys start looking at different AmeriCorps programs, you'll see some have 6 weeks of straight training. Ours is kind of spread out. So you have a week of training, and then you'll do some different projects in the parks, then do another training. Site specific, it just kind of varies how much training you'll need at one site versus another. But all of our crews will receive trail building training, search and rescue, some sort of interpretive training. That just means how to give environmental education programs to kids and adults. We all do in the EMR training, which is emergency medical responder training. It's a week-long advanced first aid and CPR training. All of our crews also receive wildland firefighter training, small craft safety, which is basically canoe training. We teach you how to paddle a canoe and lead groups on canoe trips. And all of our crews do receive basic chainsaw training. That's a 2 to 3 day class. And here's a snapshot of our annual report from last year, some of the highlights. That I mentioned invasive species control. So we do all plants and harmful insects. So that's where the top line there, we treat hemlock trees and ash trees for invasive insects. Give you guys a training in that pesticide application. We planted thousands of trees and bay grasses, improved over 2,000 acres of park and public land. We do some disaster response. We've responded to floods, hurricanes, tornadoes. We teach thousands, over 30,000 kids and adults in environmental ed programs annually. And last year we maintained over 300 miles of trail and waterway. So just a general idea of what we do. And there are some of our crews. And Nick, I think, is on here now if you guys have any questions for him.
Thank you, Tina. That was so amazing. So what I'm really hearing here, oh, Nick, did you want to jump in?
No, yeah, I just wanted to, so my name is Nick. First of all, I've been in this program for the last 2 years, actually in the field doing the work. Really, if you have any inkling of interest in the natural world and working outdoors, or specifically working in park service, and you're either in Maryland or really even outside of Maryland, this is an excellent program. From my experience, the people who I've met and talked to who are rangers in the Maryland Park Service or work in Maryland Department of Natural Resource, this is one of the major inroads. So if you have a very specific interest in not just working in Maryland Department of Natural Resources or Maryland Park Service, but you want to work in natural resources, this is a very excellent program. It's extremely well run. Through this program, I've gotten to really branch out into other natural resource and public land-based agencies, state and federal. Just excellent springboard. I really can't recommend it enough. Even if you have a passing interest in nature, some of those images of people chainsawing and doing wildland fire, those are things that I had never done, never even thought about doing before I entered the program. And now I feel like I can teach other people to do that now. That's really the education and professional development you get from the program. So I just kind of wanted to kind of open with that and mention that. And if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat feature for myself or for Tina.
Thank you, Maryland Conservation Corps. It really sounds like somebody who has any type of passion, or like Nick said, any type of maybe an interest in the outside world, spending a year and really gaining those tactical skills and knowledge and the trainings could be super valuable. Even if you don't use it going forward, just having that experience and connecting with the environment in that way can be life-changing. So thank you. We're going to move on to Reading Partners. So Reading Partners, let's go ahead and hear about your program. Take it away.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks to Callie and Nikki for putting this together. It's very exciting. So my name is Nicole Phillips. I'm the Community Engagement Manager for Reading Partners Baltimore. We are a literacy intervention program that's actually nationwide. And before I jump in, I have a question for you guys. So you can write it down for yourself or throw it in the chat if you want to, but take a guess what you think the percent of fourth graders across the country that are at or above reading level are. What percent of fourth graders are at or above their grade level reading? So if you write down what you think, give yourself a little bit of a drum roll, that number is only 36%. And in Baltimore City, where Andrew and I work, one of our senior members has joined us and he'll share a little bit about his experience. That number drops down to only 17%. So our mission at Reading Partners is to really be at the forefront of the educational equity and literacy crisis across our country. The organization was started over 20 years ago in California by a group of retired teachers who recognized the need and had the skills to create a scripted curriculum and leverage community volunteers to work with students one-on-one. So that program was really able to build to scale across the country. And then in our partnership with AmeriCorps, we're able to increase that scale quite a bit. So specifically, our mission is to help children become lifelong learners by empowering communities. We leverage community volunteers to do individualized instruction with measurable results. So last year, we had over 8,000 students in our program, and 85% of those students hit their end of year growth goals. We serve K through fourth grade students in public schools. We can go to the next slide. Yeah, so we really couldn't serve that number of students without community volunteers, and we can't leverage that many community volunteers without our AmeriCorps members. So AmeriCorps members are the heart of our program. They serve either by being placed as at a school and running and managing the reading center where students work, or they play a support role to a few of our centers. And then we have a team in every city that really helps us recruit and onboard those volunteer tutors that commit to supporting our students. So who we're looking for and reading partners, AmeriCorps members, our benefits are very similar to the benefits that have been shared already. So we have a 10-month service full-time position for all 3 of our positions. We have a pretty competitive stipend that we offer, and the education award and health benefits are similar. We're really looking for people that are committed to service, have a passion for education, believe in the power of our program, are interested in developing community relationships. You not only get to build your AmeriCorps network and your cohort, but also really become part of your school community and the Reading Partners community. And because of that, we're looking for folks that really enjoy working with multiple groups of people. So you can go to the next slide. And like I mentioned, there are 3 roles that we are looking for. And then if you choose to come on for a 3rd year, then you would be a senior volunteer coordinator, site coordinator. So Andrew, who has joined me, can jump on and share a little bit about his experience and what he's learned in finishing he's almost done his 2nd year with us as a senior site coordinator.
Thank you, Nicole. So as Nicole said, I'm Andrew Nelson, and finishing up my 2nd year with Reading Partners. I am a site coordinator at an elementary school here in Baltimore City. As a site coordinator, I ensure that our tutoring sessions are happening. On a given day, I could be matching a new tutor with a student who needs a session, could be meeting with teachers to receive and give updated on student progress. Reading Partners has given me the opportunity really to find what my passion has been, and that's really working with kids. The staff here is very supportive, and I'm always available when I have questions or, I'm having trouble with something. So, having that support has really been able to help me find that launching pad. And with that, as a senior, I've had the opportunity to take on training opportunities, to give trainings to other AmeriCorps members, help plan service days for our AmeriCorps members, and really just take a leadership role in fostering that service mindset. It's been a pleasure to work with Reading Partners, and it's been really fulfilling and impactful to see how students grow in their literacy, and when they see that spark, and they you hear students start saying they can't wait to come and do a session, and I think that's really what keeps me coming back. So yeah, so if anybody had any questions or anything, I'll stay on for a little bit.
Awesome, thanks, Andrew. And the only other thing that I'll mention is we are looking to hire 23 cohort members this year, and we are currently hiring and going through the whole interview process remotely. So apply now.
That's great. A little plug. They're recruiting right now. Get your spot. But the service year doesn't start till after, I think, the school year. You know what's really neat, real quick, is that the 3 AmeriCorps members that have been speaking on this webinar have all done more than 1 service year. And for, like, Andrew is doing 2 or 3 years in with Reading Partners. Sierra actually served in a different AmeriCorps program, Teach for America, and then she did Volunteer Maryland. So you can get hooked in this AmeriCorps world. Thank you so much for the presentation of Reading Partners. Now we're going to turn to Literacy Lab and hear about their program.
Hi, everyone. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me. Thank you so much for including us today. And speaking of being hooked on AmeriCorps, I am guilty of that for sure. My name is Josie, and I am the program associate here at the Literacy Lab in Baltimore, and I am a proud AmeriCorps alum. I served 2 years as an AmeriCorps member. My first year, I served in a different program called City Year in San Jose, but then I knew I needed to do the work I was doing there here in Baltimore. So I joined the Literacy Lab as a K-3 tutor and AmeriCorps member during the 17-18 school year. So I joined the Literacy Lab because I wanted to help bridge the education gap many students in Baltimore face every day. And having grown up in Baltimore, I knew that I needed to do that work here. So what is the Literacy Lab? We are an education nonprofit and an AmeriCorps partner program. So all of our tutors are AmeriCorps members and receive the benefits that come with that, such as the competitive living stipend, the Siegel Education Award, loan forbearance, SNAP eligibility, and access to alum networks. And our members also can opt into a healthcare option and childcare option as well. So at the Literacy Lab, we believe that all children deserve to learn how to read and that literacy is a human right. So the Literacy Lab's mission is to provide low-income children with individualized reading instruction to improve their literacy skills, leading to greater success in school and increased opportunities in life. So the Literacy Lab serves children from ages 3 through grade 3, and we partner with school districts to help close that literacy gap, largely by embedding full-time, rigorously trained tutors in early childhood centers and elementary schools. So since its founding in 2009, the Literacy Lab has grown tremendously. For some context, in 2009, we had about 30 AmeriCorps members, tutors, serving in just DC. And this year, we have over 300 positions available in 6 different cities, which is really exciting because that means we're supporting social skill development for thousands of students across the country. So here in Baltimore, we specifically have 68 AmeriCorps member slots that we are recruiting for. That number may grow next year. We're not sure. We grew 40% this year, so there is clearly a huge need. And we are excited to talk to you about that today. So if we could go to the next slide. Awesome, thanks. So our model is broken into 2 components, pre-K and kindergarten through 3rd grade, which we call K-3. So in the pre-K program, a tutor is embedded full-time in a classroom, in a pre-K classroom for the entire school year. And these tutors support the classroom in general. So as a pre-K tutor, you'll be singing, dancing, playing, and doing all of these really fun, amazing pre-K things, but really collaborating with that lead teacher and parent educator to integrate your literacy tutoring into their daily classroom schedule. And then on the K-3 side, tutors are placed in one school for the entire service time, and they're there the whole service time. So there are usually 2 tutors at each school site, and each tutor has a caseload of 15 to 18 students that they see every day, and they pull each student out of class and work with them one-on-one for 20 minutes every single day. So as a K-3 tutor and a pre-K tutor, you really get to build an amazing rapport and relationship with your students, and you specifically target those literacy areas that students are struggling with so that they can be readers. So one thing that both models have in common is that you collect data on students every single week to track their progress. And then you bring that data to a team of coaches, and together with those coaches, you decide what the best next steps are for those students. Let me go to the next slide. Awesome, thank you. So why should you join? Specifically, we want you to join the program because we believe that you can powerfully impact the students that we serve. So as an AmeriCorps member with the Literacy Lab, you'll have the opportunity to make a difference in a community while receiving coaching and training and all of those benefits that come along with being an AmeriCorps member. So to apply, to start in August 2020, to serve in the 2020-2021 school year, you can follow the link that's right there on the slide. I'll also include my contact information and that link in the chat so you can easily copy and paste it if you would like. But before we wrap up with our programming information, Shadia, who's an amazing pre-K tutor here in Baltimore, will share a bit about her experience in our program.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Shadia. I'm a pre-K tutor. I'm from the Literacy Lab. Thank you, Josie, for introducing me. So yeah, just to take you guys back about a little over a year ago, I was about to graduate UMBC with a degree in American Studies, and I was like, I don't know what I want to do yet. I always knew I wanted to be a teacher in Baltimore. That was always the goal, but I wasn't really sure how to get there, and I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do it in the traditional sense. So I did a lot of service at UMBC, and I had always heard about Literacy Lab, and so I was like, why not apply? I read their mission, and that's when I realized this is exactly what I need to do. I wanted to work directly in Baltimore City schools, and throughout college, my focus was on STEM education. But when I worked in city schools throughout college, I realized that a lot of students were below reading level. And you have to master literacy first before you can master STEM. And that's something that I truly, truly believe, and that has kind of become my mission and motto. And so because of that, Literacy Lab is absolutely in that sense. I love being a pre-K tutor because I'm directly in the classroom working with students and with teachers, educators all day. I am one of their teachers, which is awesome. They're like, Miss S, and I'm like, oh my God. So I absolutely love my kiddos. I miss them dearly. So the day in the life of a pre-K tutor, I go in at like 8 o'clock every day. I set up all my materials, make sure I have all my note cards for my interventions, and then I jump right in. I do morning message with the kiddos. I'm a part of like the read alouds. We help with small groups. So I'm with the kids all day, every single day, and I'm really a part of the school community, and I absolutely love it. Literacy Lab has also opened up a lot of different opportunities for me. I got offered a job at the school I'm working at now for next year, which is super awesome. So AmeriCorps is really great when it comes to like career development. So yeah, that's me and Literacy Lab, and absolutely love it. So yeah, apply.
Thank you, Shadia, and thank you, attendees, for your time.
Thank you so much. Way to go. Let's bring it home with Thread. I just want to point out that if you haven't noticed yet, it's like 6 degrees of separation when you're an AmeriCorps member. You'd be walking down the street or at a job interview or something, and it's like, hey, you did AmeriCorps too? So let's take it home, Thread.
Hey, everybody. She is actually right. Absolutely right. Nikki is absolutely right. Andrew was also one of our first cohort members at Thread. So that's a commercial for that. We definitely have 6 degrees of separation. I am, to introduce myself, Stephanie Taylor. I am one of a 2-person team, AmeriCorps program management team at Thread. And I, unlike a lot of the folks that have gone before me, am not an alum of AmeriCorps. However, I want to encourage you because after graduating from college, my undergraduate experience, I had the degree, but I didn't have the work experience. And so it took me a long time to reroute my professional career to human services, which is where I've always wanted to work. And so I just want to give that plug, that for those who are on the fence, I really see the benefit of having practical experience in the areas and the workspaces that you would prefer to be in. So with that said, I'm going to give you some information about what Thread does. So Thread's mantra and North Star's relationships, right? And so we seek to create connections across lines of difference. With that being said, we connect ninth graders with community volunteers all around Baltimore. You can see my thread branded in the background. Try to give you guys a little background there. Anyway, so yeah, we connect ninth graders, those who score in the lowest 25 percentile of performing students, with volunteers all across Baltimore, right? And so the North Star, like I said, is relationships. And so our aim is to support these young people through the next 10 years of their life, which includes high school graduation and then also post high school success, whether that be a trade school, whether that be entering directly into the workforce or going into a 2 or 4 year college experience. And so our AmeriCorps members, if we could go to the next slide, support and facilitate the growth of the young people and also their relationships with volunteers. So our AmeriCorps members are in 6 Baltimore City high schools throughout the course of the week, and they do a twofold, they have a twofold job. So during the course of the day, they're more so like case managers, and they follow students and they support them with making sure that they're getting to class on time. If they need support with whether that is like a disciplinary issue, they do a variety of different things. And then after school, Tuesday through Thursday, our AmeriCorps members facilitate an after school program. And so Thread would be ideal for people who are interested in human services or social work, those who are interested in nonprofit leadership, or those who are interested in becoming educators. And I say nonprofit leadership because Thread is a hierarchy or a hierarchical organization. And so our AmeriCorps members often engage with members of our organization from all tiers, even up to the CEO. They may even be sitting next to her at a variety of meetings. They have the ability to walk up to her, sitting at her desk. And so those who are interested in becoming leaders in the nonprofit world, Thread represents an awesome opportunity to get exposure to leadership and different and varied perspectives on leadership. We also have professional development for all of our AmeriCorps members. We actually, almost every Friday, we have professional development opportunities, which will enhance each of Thread's potential, or those who join the Thread family and the AmeriCorps team there, opportunities to push their professional practices and ways to grow, whether that be from public speaking, how to craft a professional resume, and all the like. And then as a result, or at the conclusion of their service year, AmeriCorps members are expected to create an individual project, which this project is like the culmination of their Thread experience. So something that they can take and put into their professional portfolio, whatever their pursuits are in life after AmeriCorps. This project is something that will stand the test of time and that will always be with them. They actually execute the plan, whether that be to facilitate a talk of some sort, or if it is to, I don't know, maybe host a YouTube video or something, anything that's in their area of interest. And just following me, I actually have a second year AmeriCorps member whose name is Charlie. And Charlie is actually an advertisement and commercial for the AmeriCorps project. He is actually the fruition of his first year AmeriCorps project. He decided that he wanted to create a peer leader structure, and he is now fulfilling one of those roles in the job descriptions that he dreamed up. And so with that, I want to say that we are presently hiring for our 2020 cohort, 2020-21 cohort, which will begin on August 17th. 2020. And if you are interested in applying, I encourage you to go to Thread's website. I don't have the link here, but if you go to Thread's website and then to our career page, you can find the AmeriCorps position there. And with that, I just want to, if we have time, kick it over to Charlie, who can give you some of his own personal perspective. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charlie. Again, like Stephanie said, I'm a returning AmeriCorps member at Thread. Last year, I served as a program associate, and my cumulative project was creating new roles. I'm now fulfilling that. We do a lot of great work serving with Thread, and our AmeriCorps members are trained in a variety of skills, from conflict resolution to naloxone administration. You really get to like figure out not just how to operate in an educational setting, but you find out your strengths very, very quickly. It's fantastic getting to work so closely, like in a school, working with teachers, administrators. You're really the catalyst for like a lot of the positive change that can happen. You can connect those resources with our young people, with our students, as soon as they need it. It's truly a blessing. And so even nowadays in this sort of like virtual, more so virtual world, we are still running our after school program. It is now, like in the virtual space. And so we are translating all of our programming and our activities to be able to be done in this sort of a format. So we are adjusting, we are flexible, and I'm happy to answer all questions during this Q&A. Thank you.
That's such a good closeout, Charlie, about being flexible. That just describes the AmeriCorps program. So, Callie, I know that there might have been some questions before we rolled into this session. So let's kick off the questions.
Yes, so I wanted to first just pull up the last slide, which is all of the contact information and especially the how to apply for all of the programs you heard from today. So again, thank you to every program. It was really great to get some more in-depth details on what you do and why students should consider applying. We will send out this information after the webinar, but definitely take a screenshot, or as Josie did, if any of the presenters want to chat this information in the chat box, make sure to send it to all participants. And that way our participants can follow up if they have questions or interested in applying. So I know we are almost at time, but we have gotten some questions. And for those that can stay on the line, we can kick it over to a Q&A and do a quick with some of the top questions I've received. If you do have to sign off, again, thank you so much for joining, and we will be posting the full recording, including the Q&A, very shortly. So I'm actually going to stop sharing the PowerPoint. That way, any presenters and our attendees, you can put us on gallery view. So that way, for anyone who wants to answer the questions we're getting, you can feel free to come off video and give your answer. And with so many presenters, I know it might kind of get a little jumbled. So I'll ask if just one or two programs could answer the questions. Some of them, I imagine a lot of similar answers would happen through programs. And if there's any specific to your program, I will ask you first. So again, if you can stay on the line, please chat us your questions. We'll be staying on as long as we can to get them answered. And if you have to sign off, feel free to do so, and we will make sure to share all of this contact information afterwards. So the first question I had was specifically for Volunteer Maryland. We had a question just to get a little more of an idea of the application process and how someone would get matched to all of the different programs that were mentioned in Volunteer Maryland.
Yeah, that's a great question. Typically with all AmeriCorps programs, there is a application through the AmeriCorps.gov website. However, it's a little early for me to have that set up for folks. So I like to gauge with potential interested candidates through a conversation. So I do suggest that folks that have questions to definitely email me, and I will set aside time to have a chit chat to really hone in on your skills, or what skills do you want to gain, and where your interest really lies, because 11 months of service could seem like a really long time or a really fast amount of time. So we like to really talk about those interests early on, and the process basically is giving you a smorgasbord of opportunities of sites. So once Volunteer Maryland knows of what sites are available, which we're reviewing potential site candidates right now, we will have those position descriptions available for you to preview. Does that answer the question?
I think so. Great. Thanks so much. So we do have a lot of UMD students who are studying a variety of things. UMD has a huge engineering school. We have a lot of students that are interested in pre-med and some other topics. And so for the students who maybe their intended career path wasn't necessarily represented here, so for example, healthcare, engineering, as I mentioned, why should they still consider doing a service year in a program that's very different maybe than what they're hoping to kind of go on to do full time?
I'm just going to speak to that this really quick, and then if somebody else wants to pop in. Serving as an AmeriCorps member shows that you are dedicated to a topic or an issue, even if it's not something of the line of work that you want to go into. I focused on environmental education, and that's the furthest than what I'm doing right now, obviously. So the service year will provide you with not only networking opportunities, but skills and confidence, and you'll start to learn something about yourself that you didn't know existed through your service year. So you'll be surprised. You think you might be on a path, and then something will come up. You'll connect with a kid or a client or the environment, and then you'll realize like how you can take what you're studying and move it into the direction. So now you're living your passion instead of just working a job.
Other program want to tackle that answer too, why they could still consider serving with you, even if the topic may not seem related at the start.
I can jump in if that's okay. In terms of the literacy lab and working in education in general, I came into AmeriCorps from a theater degree, and I decided I want to change my career. So I chose AmeriCorps as an option for that because I knew I would, one, be serving the community, which is something I love doing and wanted to continue to do. And then working in education can really be beneficial no matter what career path you're looking into, because you get to work with students and teachers and a lot of community members. So your communication skills really grow from that. And I know that there was a huge learning curve for me when I was working with middle schoolers, but also working with first graders. And you just learn a lot of skills from that can really translate into any job career you look into. We have a lot of pre-med students that come into the literacy lab because they know that the skills they'll gain from working with students will translate very well to working with patients.
Chime in also. Actually, one of our present AmeriCorps members is a graduate from Johns Hopkins, and she was a pre-med major there. And she actually has just been awarded a Fulbright scholarship where she'll be doing medical research, I think in Lithuania, if I'm not mistaken. I can't speak specifically for her, but I can say that getting the opportunity to have a gap year between large experiences, whether that be college and then pushing out into full-time work, or whatever it is, or if maybe it's just a passion. Sometimes we talk about the fringe hours, and when you push into your like career path, a lot of times some people will put their passions or their desires or like just internal aspirations, on the back burner. And this serves as an opportunity for those who may be interested in law or medicine or healthcare or things, engineering, that aren't like human services oriented. It's a space for them to actually fulfill that and even learn how do they want to show up in those worlds. So if you want to be a physician, maybe serving in a human services organization or nonprofit context will give you the compassion and the real life experience that will sensitize you and make you grounded in that experience. So even if you're not specifically interested in human services, serving people is like the call of humanity, and so I think that we offer a great opportunity for you to fulfill that human call.
Those are excellent answers. And again, as an AmeriCorps alum myself, I totally agree with all the points shared that it can expose you to different career paths and opportunities maybe you wouldn't even have known about. And then similarly, all jobs involve some level of customer service and connecting to people. And so this is a great way to get experience in that, regardless of what you do after. I think a lot of those answers also kind of answered our other questions in terms of like what career skills are you gaining. So we don't need to go into that. But I did have a question also in terms of the stipend. So as we mentioned, it's a stipend, it's not a salary, you're a member, you're not an employee. And so I'm sure we could spend a whole nother webinar on living on a stipend. But if maybe one of the members could share really quickly about kind of what that life is like and how you're able to make it work and why you think it is worth it, even if maybe the money you're earning isn't necessarily like a full-time job.
I guess I can kind of go over that. I think there's a lot of people so for when I talk to a lot of people about the money that they make off the stipend in AmeriCorps programs, they're a lot of times kind of concerned because it's really not that much. But the thing that, at least in Maryland Conservation Corps, that you kind of have to keep in mind is that everything else is by and large taken care of. So I know that through our program, or through any program, because your technical income is zero, you're eligible for EBT or food stamps. Certain programs like Maryland Conservation Corps offers low-cost housing, like $150 a month, which is very, very little. So I think the big thing to keep in mind is that yes, you're only making this amount, but they really try to take care of everything else in your life. So that money that you have is pretty much gravy for whatever you want, like whether you have car payments or whatever else in your life that you want to spend money on, it's really for that. So and really depending on where you are in the state. So like I'm out in Western Maryland where cost of living is really low. That can go a little bit farther as well. So I think it sometimes gets a little overstated how little it is, but in the grand scheme of things, because everything else is taken care of, that's another really big thing to point out, in my view.
Yeah, now yeah, that was definitely one of my, it was kind of a concern when I started. And I remember my interview, like directly asking them, like, do other tutors have jobs, like other jobs? They were like, yeah. But something that's beautiful about Literacy Lab is that we are very much a cohort. And so a lot of our tutors, like we have a Facebook group, a lot of us are like friends, we connect with each other, and we're able to like look out for different opportunities and resources. But again, Lit Lab staff is also incredibly helpful when it comes to like money management. Like if you need to reach out for anything, any one of the program directors would absolutely be helpful and be there to support. Again, like I live in Baltimore right now, and I found a place that's relatively affordable. I also do work on the side. And so, yeah, it's just a matter of like managing your time really well, managing your money really well. And Lit Lab definitely supports in all of that. So it's difficult, but it's not that difficult. So yeah, that's my take.
Makes sense. I agree. I've survived life in DC, so it's definitely doable. So I am going to wrap us up since we are a little bit over. And again, anyone who's still on the line and for any of our presenters, if there are additional questions, we'll make sure that we'll share them with the presenters. Feel free to chat and we'll still collect them. But I would love to just end us if we could go around and share maybe like one word, either a skill that you gained, a strength that you gained, a feeling that you had because of your service, I think would be a really great way to just quickly wrap up. So word, feeling, skill, just what did AmeriCorps leave you with?
I think empowerment.
Community.
I want to say well-roundedness.
I'll say confidence.
I'll say strength.
I was going to say confidence, but that was taken. So I'll just say the confidence in being able to get things done specifically.
I will say hope.
Thank you all again so much for presenting, for sharing the programs and the amazing work that you're doing. And for our attendees, I hope that you've left feeling very inspired and are going to, go check out all of these websites, email any questions you have. We really do want to connect you here at Do Good to opportunities where you can do good. And there's no better example than AmeriCorps. So thank you again to all of our presenters. Thanks again to Nikki for getting everybody together to present. We really appreciate it, and we hope that everyone will do well during this quarantine time, and we're excited to continually connect each other remotely until we can be together in person again. And thank you so much for joining.
Thanks, Callie. Have a good day, everyone.